The 2022 British Grand Prix at Silverstone saw Alfa Romeo driver Guanyu Zhou experience a violent and horrific crash on a race start. Landing upside down, hanging from the strap, spinning 360 degrees on the track, then onto the gravel where he rolled multiple times, into and over the barrier and into the catch fence. A crash that just a few short years ago would have certainly been fatal, but he walked away, seemingly unscathed. So today in Formula Whiplash, we're diving into the history of safety systems of Formula One. Now, Guanyu Zhou's crash, while extremely violent and high speed, was one of a few we've seen in recent years where the drivers walked away with not only their lives, but retained the ability to continue competing in the sport. This is due to today's modern safety systems that are more advanced than ever before in F1 history. The car itself being designed to break apart into smaller, less dangerous pieces. It features advanced materials and technologies that allow the monocoque, or the safety cell, to keep the driver safe from the rest of the car during a crash, being intentionally designed to, well, break down as it were. In fact, even the wheels break away, and when they do, they're tethered by a cable so as not to fly into the crowd or another car. But this sort of thing wasn't always the case. These technologies were born from decades upon decades of lessons learned. Lessons learned in blood. The worst crash in auto racing history, and the one that generated a realistic need for safety systems, was a crash at Le Mans in 1955. That's when Jaguar driver Mike Hawthorne, in an attempt to enter the pit lane on lap 35, braked sharply in front of Lance Macklin's Austin Healey. Macklin then made contact with Pierre Levay's Mercedes-Benz at 150 miles per hour. Not only did this cause the car to go airborne, but it was perfectly lined up with the fan seating section, with pieces of it traveling for over 80 meters. The results were devastating, and it took the lives of not only Levay, but over 80 people and wounded over 170 others, mostly spectators. And 14 of these who were killed were decapitated. Naturally, something had to be done to avoid this happening again. And while Le Mans isn't exactly an F1 race, there were F1 drivers participating, namely Juan Manuel Fangio, who barely missed making contact with Mike Hawthorne during that incident. And if you don't know who Fangio is, that's okay, it's a video for another time. But the Le Mans crash of 1955 shut down all of motor racing in France for a time until tracks could be revamped and adjusted to be made safer for drivers and fans. And it worked. Over the coming years, we see changes in track design and the way barriers are placed and angled. Throughout the 1960s, we see rollover bars, flag signals, double fire extinguishing systems, and full visor helmets. In 1970, we start to see bigger advances, and for good reason. That year, we see rising star and eventual posthumous world champion Jochen Rindt killed due to a seatbelt complication during a crash in a practice session at Monza. Following this, Formula One made a 6-point safety harness a requirement. Kind of an interesting factoid, Sebastian Vettel considers Jochen Rindt one of the greats. And who did Jochen Rindt race with? None other than Helmut Marko. In fact, in the past, Vettel has had conversations with Helmut Marko about Jochen Rindt. So we're not that far removed from these events as you might think. By 1975, the FIA had standardized criteria for Nomex fireproof suits. But Niki Lauda's crash in 1976 at the Nürburgring underlined its inadequacies. Lauda became a major proponent for prioritizing safety above competition in Formula One. In 1976, at the German Grand Prix, Lauda hit an embankment and made contact with Brett Lunger's Surtees Ford car. This trapped Lauda as it was engulfed in flames. Due to a helmet failure, Lauda's head, face, and lungs were exposed to high heat and very, very toxic fumes. Italian driver Arturo Mazzario was able to free Lauda from his car, but not before the damage was done. If you've never seen the movie Rush, it goes into this particular event in great detail, one I will spare you today.
Oh, you can't say that.
Why not?
It's a Ferrari!
It's a shitbox!
Either way, it was a miracle he survived, and he became a huge proponent for safety changes after his accident. In fact, once he even went so far as to have the track organizers at Monaco hose down the tunnel prior to the race start so it matched the wet track conditions outside of it. But that was Niki Lauda. Throughout the 1980s, we see major safety enhancements of the cars, including testing of the entire monocoque, crash tests for the front ends, and increased carbon fiber across the car. F1 also begins adding rescue helicopters and on-site medical treatment facilities. Formula One was doing a bang-out job until the deaths of Ayrton Senna and Roland Ratzenberger. A fatality-free period of 12 years was then broken, both of their fatal accidents being owed to a car issue combined with safety equipment unable to withstand the rigidity of barrier material. For example, Senna hitting a concrete barrier at 130 miles per hour. After this, tracks were re-evaluated pit lane speeds were reduced, along with a host of other safety increases throughout all of racing equipment, especially helmets. Throughout the rest of the 90s, we see enhancements to existing safety issues like tethering the wheels to the car, mandatory presence of a doctor in a medical vehicle, and increasing the ability of a driver to escape a car. In 2003, the Hans device comes onto the scene and is still used today to protect a driver's head and neck after being attached to their helmets. And what might be the most effective safety feature of all time? The Halo is introduced in 2018. Not to be confused with this Halo, has since saved the heads, necks, and lives of many of our favorite drivers. While many of them initially complained of the Halo system as it changed the traditional look and feel of the car, as well as minimally affected their visibility, they eventually sang a different tune, and the Halo system is currently used on all Formula cars from Formula 1 to Formula 4 and Formula E. Most recently, Lewis Hamilton, Guanyu Zhou, and former F1 driver Roman Grosjean have credited not only the Halo, but the quickness of medical responders to their crashes. And I haven't even gotten into the F2 drivers that it's saved, but maybe another time. And if you're new around here, fun fact, Formula 1 races begin from a standing start. Unfortunately, this results in a higher risk of crashes during the first lap. So to react faster to crashes, a medical car follows the field on lap 1. Inside the medical car is a professional driver and doctor. This year, it's Bruno Correa behind the wheel, replacing beloved Alan van der Merwe, who's been driving the medical car since 2009. I'll put a link about that in the description below. Dr. Ian Roberts, who's the FIA Formula 1 Medical Rescue Coordinator and Deputy Medical Delegate, sits shotgun in the passenger seat, ready to provide immediate medical attention. Side note, if you weren't aware, drivers have G sensors in their earplugs, and if it detects a deceleration of 25 Gs or higher, the medical car is automatically deployed. Pretty crazy, right? Anyways, F1 lessons learned over the years all came to a head at the Bahrain Grand Prix in 2020. That's when Roman Grosjean hit the guardrail at 150 miles an hour, causing him to become wedged underneath it. It also cracked his car in half like a crab leg. Only the crab leg is the car, the meat is Grosjean, and the butter is fire. While trapped in the flames, his Nomex gloves turned brown, his visor started melting, and his racing suit began to fail. He frantically felt his way around and grabbed onto something to pull himself free of the wreckage. He actually had to remove his shoe to get free, but then found an opening, and moving and crawling his way through the smoke and flames, found a medical crew members, van der Merwe and Roberts, ready to extract him. Listen, crashes are inevitable. And no matter what, we cannot see all ends. But because good people busted their butts to apply tough lessons learned into the sport of F1, are we able to witness our favorite drivers walk away from even the most violent of crashes, able to enjoy them racing another day. So what's stopping your favorite drivers from turning into a puddle of unrecognizable jelly any given weekend? Safety systems. I do have some Formula Whiplash news. I'll be revealing some new information soon, connecting this channel to some of the other F1 stuff I do. A surprise to most, but helpful to everyone, I think. I've been debating it for some time now, but I think it's time I let the cat out of the bag. Check in on my YouTube channel and Twitter accounts over the next week or so and find out. Obviously, after you like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments what you think it'll be. That's all I have for today, guys. Thanks for coming by, and I'll see you in the next one.